They call her the Demon of Kingston, a woman so powerful she owns the city's skyline. But they don't see her in the dead of night, trembling in my arms, confessing the secrets of a hidden room. 3 walls, floor to ceiling, plastered with photos of my every move for the past 3 years. At its center, a life-size portrait of me with a real dagger plunged through its heart. Sometimes, she whispers, her voice breaking, when I'm angry that you don't understand my heart, I can't bear to hurt you. I can only hurt this. Now, her treacherous aunt wants to turn me into a weapon against her. And my abusive father, the man who cast me aside, kneels and begs me to save his ruined empire. They all believe I am her pampered pet, her one fatal weakness. They are about to learn a terrible lesson. I am not her weakness. I am her king, and I will burn down anyone who dares to make my queen cry. Chapter 73. In the grand hall of the manor, the air was frozen solid. A stunningly beautiful woman, appearing to be in her 30s, sat elegantly on the sofa, her every move exuding an unsettling charm. She was Lorelai's paternal aunt, Lilith Luo. Her appearance was a full year earlier than Liam remembered. Who allowed you to be here? Lorelai's voice was laced with ice, her eyes like daggers. Lilith rose gracefully, taking delicate steps until she stood before Lorelai. But her gaze shifted to Liam, sizing him up with great interest. She extended a slender finger, attempting to lift his chin, her smile holding a bewitching power. What am I doing here? Naturally, I came to see what kind of man could become my nephew-in-law. A little handsome, but nothing special otherwise. Liam turned his head to avoid her touch, his eyes equally sharp. I don't like to be touched. Retract your claws. Lilith paused, then her smile grew more seductive. Not bad, a little different after all. My dear Lorelai, where have you hidden your second uncle? Tell me, and I won't bother this handsome young man. Otherwise, I can't say what I might do. Are you looking to die? The atmospheric pressure around Lorelai plummeted. My dear niece, we're the same kind of person, Lilith sighed. You may be powerful, but your aunt is no pushover. What, you want to test me? Liam suddenly stepped between them, breaking the tense standoff. I say, since we're all family, why let it come to this? Can't we sit down and talk? Lorelai looked at Liam, and the bone-chilling cold in her eyes miraculously thawed. She knew Lilith had seen her weakness. For Liam's sake, she couldn't take the risk. Finally, she turned towards the study. Fine, let's talk. Inside the study, the moment the door closed, Lorelai radiated a murderous aura. If you dare harm Liam, you will wish you were dead. But Lilith just laughed. Lorelai, I never thought you'd have a weakness. However, Lorelai's voice became calm and resolute. While Liam is indeed your weakness, he is not a bargaining chip you can use against me. If he dies, I will die with him. Lilith fell silent. Then, she ripped off her top, revealing a network of hideous, crisscrossing scars covering her body like a shattered spiderweb. The suffering I have endured, you will endure it too. Her voice was filled with venom. Are you sure you won't tell me where your second uncle is? Lorelai looked at her, as if she were an idiot. Finally, Lilith straightened her clothes and left with a parting shot. We'll see about that. Before vanishing into the shadows of the study, Lorelai stared after her, muttering to herself. Aunt, do you really think you escaped on your own? That night, Lorelai was in a terrible mood. Liam didn't ask any questions, simply holding her tightly. He realized that this seemingly omnipotent woman carried a burden unimaginable to ordinary people. He had to do something for her. Over the weekend, Liam planned a trip just for the two of them. Like the most ordinary couple, they furiously mashed buttons in an arcade, clumsily supported each other at an ice skating rink, and even jumped from a high tower together, holding each other tight in freefall. Lorelai experienced countless firsts, her face blooming with a pure smile he had never seen before. That evening, Liam used his immense wealth to book the entire Mount Foam. In the early morning hours, they began their ascent. Liam gently hooked his index finger with hers. Do you know why I'm giving you my index finger? Why? Because our fingers connect to our hearts. You're not holding my hand, you're holding my heart. A subtle smile curved Lorelai's lips. She suddenly leaned in and pecked him on the lips. Watch your mouth, because I might kiss you at any time. Halfway up, Lorelai plopped down on the ground, whining that she was tired. Liam crouched down indulgently and carried her on his back. Her breath tickled his ear, and in that moment, Liam felt as if he were carrying the entire world. As sweat trickled down his forehead, she reached out with her cool fingers and gently wiped it away. Love flowed silently on the quiet mountain path. As the first rays of dawn pierced the horizon, they finally reached the summit. Liam pointed to the brilliant glow in the distance. Look, the sunrise is about to begin. As Lorelai turned her head, he took a deep breath and dropped to one knee. When she turned back, she froze. In Liam's hand was a diamond ring, glittering in the morning light. Miss Lorelai, this is your diamond ring. Please accept it. Wear it, and we'll be together for a lifetime, never to part. Lorelai's heart skipped a beat. She slowly extended her hand, letting Liam slip the ring, symbolizing eternity, onto her finger. In the distance, the red sun burst forth, painting the world in shades of gold and crimson. They exchanged rings, and from that moment on, their ring fingers belonged to each other. The wind on the summit was cool, and Liam draped his jacket over Lorelei. They huddled together, quietly watching the magnificent sunrise. On the way down, Lorelei bought an ice cream, and they shared it in the car, bite for bite, the sweet taste melting on their tongues and in their hearts. However, the price of romance came quickly. Back at the manor, perhaps from the exhaustion of the night hike, the cold wind, and the ice cream, Lorelei fell ill. A stomach flu hit her hard. She developed a high fever, her brow furrowed, even in her sleep. It was the first time Liam had seen her so fragile. He was shocked to realize this little demon could get sick too. That night, he stayed by her side, bringing her water, feeding her medicine, and repeatedly wiping her burning forehead with a warm towel. Watching Liam's busy figure, Lorelei, in a state between sleep and wakefulness, thought that even being sick was a kind of happiness. The next day, Lorelei insisted on going to the office despite her illness. When Liam woke up, he immediately cooked a pot of nourishing congee, packed it in a thermos, and sped to the Luo Group headquarters. When Lorelei returned to her office after a meeting and saw Liam and the hot meal on her desk, she was stunned. "I want Liam to feed me," she pouted. And so, spoon by spoon, Liam fed the love-filled congee into her mouth. Seeing her satisfied expression, Liam tentatively made a request. "Lorelei, can I see your secret room?" Lorelei was silent for a moment, her eyes complex. "After you see it, you're not allowed to blame me, and you're not allowed to run." She led him to the bookshelf in the back of her office, tapped it 3 times, and the shelf slowly slid open, revealing a dark doorway. Liam followed her inside, a musty smell hitting him. The room was unlit, with only a few slivers of light piercing through the heavy curtains. As Liam's eyes adjusted to the darkness, he was utterly shaken by what he saw. 3 walls were plastered, floor to ceiling, with his photos. From his fresh-faced look during freshman military training, to his spirited appearance in competitions, to his conflicted expressions when he was with Willow. Every moment of his past 3 years had been recorded and preserved in this way. Files in the corner even detailed his preferences, personality, and even his internet browsing history. Liam was dumbfounded, his heart pounding. This wasn't just an investigation, it was all-encompassing surveillance. Its protection, Lorelei's voice held a trace of nervousness. "I wanted to know everything about you. But I was stupid. Even knowing what you liked, I couldn't make you happy." Liam took her cold hand, the shock in his heart gradually replaced by an indescribable emotion. She already knew him better than he knew himself. To have a wife like this, what more could a man ask for? His gaze swept across the secret wall, finally landing on a massive portrait in the center of the room. The person in the painting was him, but on the face identical to his own, right where the heart should be, a gleaming dagger was plunged deep into the canvas. Liam's blood ran cold. He pointed at the dagger, his voice dry. "What is this?" Chapter 74. In the secret room, the air was thick and stagnant. Liam's finger pointed at the heart of his own massive portrait, where a cold dagger was buried in the canvas, leaving only its grim hilt exposed. "What is this?" His voice was a little hoarse. Lorelei's gaze fell on the dagger, and a look of almost fragile obsession crossed her face. "Sometimes, when I'm angry that you don't understand my heart, I can't bear to hurt you, so I can only hurt your portrait to vent." She paused, her voice dropping. "But more often, it's when I can't see you. I can only stay with these things and imagine that you've been by my side all along, that you've never left." Liam was silent. He could imagine this woman, who could command the world outside, spending countless lonely nights in this room, surrounded by cold photos and paintings, tasting the bitterness of unrequited love. He took her cold hand and placed it over his own heart, letting her feel its strong, steady beat. "All that unpleasantness in the past was just because my heart hadn't opened yet." His voice was gentle but firm. "Now, this heart beats for you. From now on, you won't have to keep watch over these pictures. As your husband, I'm on call whenever you need me." A rare blush crept up Lorelei's cheeks. She looked at their intertwined fingers, the diamond rings on their ring fingers clinking together with a crisp sound. The ice around her heart was melting at an unprecedented speed. Liam's gaze fell on a table piled high with thick documents. He casually flipped one open, and his pupils contracted sharply. September 1st, 9:03 a.m. Liam Lin entered the dormitory to meet with Owen Wu. 9:58 a.m. Met with Willow Liu. "Willow Liu, Liam, I need to talk to you." Liam Lin. "What? You have the money ready." Page after page, line after line, his daily schedule was recorded, accurate to the minute. Even his private conversations were transcribed verbatim. He had assumed Lorelei knew his whereabouts, but he never imagined it would be in such excruciating detail. "Liam, are you scared?" Lorelei's voice held an almost imperceptible nervousness. Liam took a deep breath, suppressing the storm in his heart, and managed a wry smile. "Wife, you are truly powerful. I just want to know, how did you know what we were saying?" "I have people who can read lips," Lorelei answered nonchalantly, omitting the fact that she had planted a micro-listening device on him. "I give up," Liam shook his head. "I get it now. I can never escape your grasp in this lifetime. Good thing I don't have to run anymore. He turned to leave. But Lorelei stopped him, her eyes filled with suspicion. Where are you going? Are you angry? Of course not. Liam smiled and tapped her nose. You still have work to do. I'm going home to cook for you. You're still not well? You need something nutritious. After leaving the Luo group, Liam first went back to the university. During his meeting with President Thompson, he astutely picked up on the man's subtle hints. When the president lamented the school's tight budget and the stalled new library project, Liam didn't hesitate. How much do you need? The president tentatively held up one finger. 100 million. All right, I'll cover it, Liam said calmly. In the name of Warm Yao Properties. Now I have to go home and cook for Lorelei. She's sick and her stomach is weak. President Thompson stood frozen, his mouth agape, watching Liam leave. However, trouble always found him. As Liam was about to leave the academic building, he ran into Ethan in the restroom. A foul smell, a mix of ammonia and stale tobacco, hit him. What's your relationship with Lorelei? Ethan's voice was full of jealous interrogation. I'm warning you. A woman like that is just using you as a toy. Stay away from her. Liam zipped up his pants, his gaze sweeping over a nearby urinal clogged with cigarette butts and filled with a yellow liquid. A cold smirk touched his lips. Amidst Ethan's incessant cursing, he lunged, grabbing a handful of Ethan's greasy hair and viciously shoving his head into the urinal. Disgusting bubbling sounds and Ethan's terrified struggles echoed in the small space. Only when the urinal had been cleaned did Liam let go. Ethan collapsed to the floor, retching violently but too afraid to actually vomit. Because Liam's smiling voice was like a devil's whisper, I wouldn't throw up if I were you. Otherwise, I'll make you eat everything you bring up. Liam methodically washed his hands, flicked off the water, and left, leaving his soul trembling in fear and humiliation. Driving back to the manor, Liam's mood did not improve. He keenly noticed that the bodyguard car protecting him from behind was being boxed in by two unidentified vehicles. Before he could react, with a screech of tires, a massive container truck suddenly swerved, blocking the road like an iron wall. The violent jolt from braking made him dizzy. He didn't get out of the car, because he saw the two men who jumped from the truck instinctively reach for their waists. It was the move of a professional killer. Liam immediately shifted into reverse and floored the gas. But with a loud bang, the rear of his car hit an invisible wall. He looked in the rearview mirror and saw that a black van had blocked his escape route. Outside the car door, a familiar and dangerous figure slowly appeared. Lilith Luo, leaning against the car, a seductive and sinister smile on her face. I didn't expect you to be so clever, handsome. Her voice was cloying. I just took a liking to you and wanted to have a chat. You must hate how Lorelei keeps you on a leash, right? Want your freedom? We could cooperate. Liam's heart sank. He was surrounded. Lilith's fingers reached through the window, playfully lifting his chin. Leave Lorelei and come to me. Cars, money, I can give you anything. The feeling of taking a man that Lorelei likes. That must be wonderful. If there's nothing else, Aunt Lilith, please let me leave. Liam's voice was as cold as iron. Aunt. Lilith let out an exaggerated laugh. That makes it even more exciting. She waved her hand, and the three vehicles silently retreated like ghosts, as if they had never been there. Back at the manor, Liam suppressed the turmoil in his heart and prepared dinner for Lorelei as usual. When Lorelei came home early and threw herself into his arms like a kitten, he held her tightly, as if trying to merge her into his own body. Husband, did anything happen today? Lorelei purred, nuzzling against him. Liam stroked her hair and said calmly, I did. I ran into a crazy person. Compared to me, who's crazier? A dangerous glint flashed in Lorelei's eyes. Liam answered without a second thought. You are, of course. After her illness, a faint, feverish flush remained on Lorelei's cheeks, like the most delicate peach blossoms of early spring. Liam held her in his arms, sitting on the bedroom balcony, quietly watching the star-filled sky. Lorelei seemed to love looking at the stars. She said that stars don't move, but people's hearts do. Liam didn't understand the cryptic saying. All he knew was that the person in his arms was calm at this moment, and that was enough. Late at night, Lorelei fell into a deep sleep in his embrace, her breathing even and long. As Liam carefully prepared to carry her back to bed, two green points of light appeared silently in the balcony shadows. Meow. A soft call broke the silence. It was the black cat. It squatted there, watching them quietly, like a silent guardian. Liam gestured for it to be quiet, gently placed Lorelei on the bed, covered her with a blanket, and then returned to the balcony. Are you some kind of peeping tomcat? Liam asked in a low, half-joking voice. The black cat simply tilted its head, meowed again, and then gracefully turned and disappeared into the night. That night, Liam had the dream again. It was the same lifeless primeval forest, the damp scent of decaying leaves seeming to pierce through the dream itself. The strange eyes appeared again, clearer this time. They belonged to no known creature, with vertical pupils like a snake or a cat, gleaming with an inhuman, hungry light. Then, Beneath the eyes, a mouth tore open in thin air. Thick blood endlessly poured from the gash, dripping without a sound, as if swallowed by the primordial silence. Liam woke up with a start, drenched in cold sweat. Lorelei stirred beside him, sleepily burying her head in his chest and murmuring, "Dreams are fake. Only the person you love beside you is real." Holding her warm, soft body, the fear in Liam's heart gradually subsided. He looked at Lorelei's messy hair, her clear face without makeup, and the eyes that were once as cold as frost, now like a deep pool filled with a tenderness reserved only for him. He admitted to himself that he was utterly captivated by this woman. It had started as guilt and compensation, but now it was dependence and infatuation. He couldn't imagine what he would become without her. The next day, after Lorelei left, Liam began to build his business empire. He met Owen at his newly established real estate company, gave him a 5% stake right off the bat, and appointed him general manager. "Ability isn't the most important thing," Liam said, clapping him on the shoulder. "You just need to know how to manage and delegate. You don't want your ex-girlfriend pointing at you one day and saying you really are worthless, do you?" That one sentence ignited all of Owen's motivation. Next, the two of them pulled off a dual-pronged persuasion effort, successfully convincing Owen's father, a senior executive at a construction company, to join them. Liam presented an irrefutable reason. "This is an internal investigation by the Luo Group. Your current company is about to face major problems and become the scapegoat for a failing business. It's only a matter of time." Owen's father no longer had any doubts. And so, driven by money, backed by the Luo Group's invisible endorsement, and with the combined efforts of father and son, a new business, Warm Yao Properties, took shape in just 3 days, a speed that was nothing short of a miracle. Everything was on track. Liam's business was expanding at an astonishing rate. However, beneath the calm surface, an undercurrent was already stirring. That night, an encrypted text message quietly arrived on his phone. "Hey handsome, Panga Hotel, room 1801, tomorrow morning. Come alone." The sender was Lilith Luo. The beautiful serpent was finally making her move. Liam deleted the message and looked at Lorelei sleeping beside him, curled up in his arms like a gentle kitten. He softly kissed her forehead. "This time, it's my turn to shield you from the storm." Early the next morning, just after breakfast, Lorelei called. "Liam, what are you doing?" Her voice was devoid of emotion. "At the manor, about to go inspect my properties," Liam lied calmly. The line was silent for a moment before she replied, "Okay, be safe." After hanging up, Lorelei stared at her own phone screen, which displayed the very text message Liam had just deleted. It had been synced to her device. "Liam, what are you really up to?" Liam went to the Pango Hotel alone. He had specifically instructed his bodyguards not to follow and had told the hotel manager, Eliza Yi, to pretend not to know him if she saw him. He stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the 18th floor. Room 1801. He remembered this room. It was where Owen had caught his girlfriend cheating. He knocked, and the door swung open. It hadn't been locked. A cloying, corrupt scent of cheap perfume and alcohol hit him. The room was a mess. Several disheveled men were sprawled on the floor, foolish smiles on their faces, their pupils dilated. They were clearly drugged. And on the messy king-sized bed, Lilith, dressed in tight black leather, was like a black poppy blooming in the mud, watching him with the eyes of a predator. "Why did you ask me to come?" Liam's voice was flat. Lilith smiled seductively, got off the bed, and toyed with a leather cord as she advanced on him. "To do something interesting, of course. I'm not interested in you." Liam turned to leave. But Lilith was faster. A ghostly blur, and she was blocking the door, which she kicked shut with a loud bang. The seductive smile vanished from her face, replaced by a venomous fury. "Playing hard to get? What? Am I not as good as Lorelei? Why do you avoid me every single time?" In room 1801 of the Pango Hotel, the air was thick with danger and decay. Lilith stared intently at Liam, her eyes looking as if they could devour him whole. "If I'm not downstairs in 10 minutes, Liam's voice was remarkably calm, "my bodyguards will come up, and they will contact Lorelei at the same time. So, if you have something to say it now." Lilith was so angry she laughed. She seriously wondered if her charm had expired. "Fine, you win." She squeezed the words through her teeth. "I want you to help me collect evidence of Lorelei's crimes. And you will act as a witness, accusing her of illegal imprisonment." Liam sneered internally. In his past life, he had been fooled by this very line, nearly leading to his ruin. Gather evidence to take down Lorelei? That was a fantasy. He took the USB drive Lilith handed him without a word. "If you succeed, I guarantee you'll escape Lorelei's clutches." Lilith's tone was full of temptation. Liam remained silent. He knew that to Lilith, this silence was an admission. He also knew that this USB drive was the real key to her plan. He was just a pawn she was using to provoke Lorelei. "Fine, I'll be in touch," Liam said, pocketing the drive and turning to leave. From behind him came Lilith's venomous whisper. "You little thing. After I'm done using you, I'll make you kneel before me and become my most pathetic toy." Back at the manor, Liam spent an hour carefully preparing a nutritious meal, then rushed to the Luo Group headquarters. On the 88th floor, the executive assistant, Monica, immediately intercepted him, looking anxious. Mr. Lin, Miss Luo is in a very bad mood today. Please go and calm her down. You're her personal fire extinguisher. Pushing open the office door, he saw Lorelei sitting alone by the floor-to-ceiling window, her figure looking somewhat lonely. When she saw him enter, she merely lifted her eyes, saying nothing. What's wrong? Who upset you? Liam asked, setting the food on the table. He then put on a pitiful expression. I was worried my wife wouldn't eat properly, so I personally cooked and brought her lunch, only to be met with such a cold shoulder. I'm so hurt. Liam, where were you this morning? Lorelei's voice was flat, betraying no emotion. Instead of answering directly, Liam picked up a spoon, filled it with congee, and held it to her lips. Lorelei, be good. Finish your food first, then I'll report to you. Lorelei looked at the spoon and hesitated for a fraction of a second. She wondered if it was drugged. But in that same instant, she opened her mouth. Even if it was poison, as long as he was feeding it to her, she would drink it willingly. The congee was fragrant and warm. It was the taste of love. I have something to tell you, Liam said as he fed her. I want your company's data. Okay, Lorelei replied faintly, without any questions. Liam's heart jolted. He asked in surprise, You're not going to ask what I want your company's data for? I don't need to ask, Lorelei said, looking him in the eye. As long as you want it, I will give it to you. Her words struck the softest part of Liam's heart like a bolt of lightning. In his past life, he had asked her the same question and received the same resolute answer. In that moment, regret and emotion intertwined into a giant net, enveloping him completely. His eyes grew hot, and tears almost fell. Lorelei, thank you for your trust, he said, taking a deep breath. He placed the USB drive on the table. This data isn't for me. That crazy woman, Lilith, wants it. She wants to cooperate with me, on the condition that she helps me escape from you. But you have to believe me. I'm just playing along to help you get rid of her. Lorelei's tense body instantly relaxed, and a meaningful smile appeared on her face. Whatever Liam wants to do, just do it. A crisis of trust that could have caused a massive storm dissipated into nothing in that office. They had become the strongest of allies. Lorelei chartered a private jet with Liam Lin's private jet printed on the side, flying them to the vast grasslands of Inner Mongolia. There, they drank the strongest liquor and rode the finest horses. Liam held Lorelei in his arms as they galloped across the endless green fields, the thundering hooves playing a passionate symphony for their love. When the holiday ended and Liam returned to school, he found that he had become a campus celebrity overnight. The news that Warm Yao Properties had fully funded the construction of the new library was officially confirmed and had exploded on the campus forums. The Liam who had once been the subject of kept man rumors had transformed into a wealthy scion who spared no expense for education. Countless students now worshipped him as a god. One day, Liam drove a relatively low-key Pagani Huayra to school. The moment he stepped out of the car, he was surrounded by a frantic crowd of students. Screams and declarations of love filled the air. Wow, Senior Liam sold his Koenigsegg for the sake of education. Now he can only drive a Pagani. He's so amazing. I'm literally crying, one girl shouted excitedly. Liam listened, a dozen black lines forming on his forehead. Lady, do you think you're being funny? The Pagani Huayra came to a slow stop on the Kingston University campus, and in an instant, Liam was engulfed in a tsunami of screams. He had never expected to receive the kind of reception reserved for a top celebrity. His grand gesture of donating the library had elevated him from a somewhat controversial campus heartthrob to a god. Senior Liam, I love you. I want to have your babies. What's so great about a kept man, a boy toy? Wow, dude, even your breath smells sour. Praise and slander mingled into a frenzied roar. It was only with the strenuous efforts of his bodyguards that Liam managed to break free from the crowd and escape into the president's office. The university soon issued a statement urging students to be rational, and the spectacle finally subsided. Today, Liam's purpose for coming to the university was to meet someone, the director of the Kingston Education Bureau, Cole Chun. Through President Thompson's introduction, Liam met the influential figure he had only ever seen on television. I hear you want to take on the project for the Kingston University Affiliated Elementary School? Director Chun looked the young man up and down, his tone appraising. Instead of talking business, Liam took a deep breath and began to tell a story that had been hidden for years. He spoke of a paranoid and cold father, a malicious stepmother, a foolish half-brother, and the hazy image of a mother who existed only in his dreams. As he spoke, this young man, who was a master strategist in the business world, found his eyes welling with tears. When the story was finished, the office was silent. Director Chun, a man in his 60s, slammed his hand on the table, furious. Scoundrel. He doesn't deserve to be a father. He looked at Liam, his initial scrutiny replaced by sympathy, heartache, and deep admiration. A young man who had grown up in such a toxic environment without giving up, instead forging his own path, deserved his respect. Son, tell me, what do you want to do? Director Chun. Liam wiped his tears, his gaze firm once more. I want to secure the construction rights for the elementary school. I want to use this piece of land to take back something that rightfully belongs to me. Leaving the Education Bureau, Liam's mind was unusually calm. The most critical piece on his chessboard of revenge had just been set. Meanwhile, the crown prince of the Su Lin Group, Ethan Lin, was enjoying the highlight of his life. The Lin Garden Scenery project's pre-sales were a massive success, raking in $800 million and pushing the Lin family's prestige to its peak. At school, he was surrounded by sycophants and flatterers, acting every bit the future billionaire. His only dissatisfaction was that Liam's fame still overshadowed his own, but he believed that was only temporary. October 10th was a brilliant, sunny day. The plaza in front of the Lin Garden Scenery Sales Center was bustling with people and colorful banners. Victor Lin was hosting a grand appreciation event for all the homeowners and prospective buyers. He stood on stage, holding Ethan's hand, painting a magnificent picture of the project with great enthusiasm. Where else in Kingston can you buy a school district property at this price? Nowhere. Our company is practically giving it away. Also, your children can get a head start in life. The crowd roared with applause. Many of the homeowners who had already purchased a property had eyes shining with hope for the future. However, just as Victor was basking in the crowd's adoration, preparing to push sales past the 1 billion mark, a dissonant voice, like a clap of thunder, boomed through the crowd. Oh my God! The building next door isn't a school. It's a city garbage transfer station. The crowd fell silent instantly. All eyes turned to the source of the voice, a young man named Sam Shun. He was holding a pair of binoculars, his face a mask of relief as if he'd just dodged a bullet. You think you have X-ray vision? What can you possibly see from that far away? Victor shouted, trying to sound tough. Sam Shun looked at him as if he were an idiot, waved the binoculars, and then yelled, Everyone, don't be fooled by this heartless developer. I can see it clearly. The sign on the billboard over there says, City Garbage Transfer Station. If you don't believe me, let's all go and see for ourselves. The crowd began to stir. The homeowners, especially those who had spent their family's life savings, turned pale. Some, still skeptical, started running towards the construction site next door. Security guards tried to restrain Sam Shun, but he suddenly collapsed, foaming at the mouth and convulsing. At that moment, the scene descended into utter chaos. The Su Lin Group is beating someone up. They're trying to silence him. Just then, the first group of people who had run to the site returned, their faces ashen, their eyes spitting fire. Holy crap, it really is a garbage transfer station. It even has a slogan, garbage processing, satisfaction guaranteed. Refund, we want our money back. A tsunami of rage instantly engulfed Victor Lin. He felt as if he had been plunged into an icy abyss, his mind blank. At that exact moment, a truck filled with rotten eggs sped into the plaza, the driver calling out cheerfully. Who ordered the rotten eggs? Free delivery. Sam Shin was the first to grab a handful, hurling them at Victor and Ethan on the stage. What followed was a torrential downpour of yellow sludge. The bodyguards tried to escort them away, but were instantly swallowed by the angry mob. Victor slipped and fell into the sticky egg mass, and countless feet started kicking at him. Is this how you treat us like family? Beat him to death. Then make him give us a refund. Under the assault of rotten eggs and fists, Victor and his son let out miserable, desperate screams. In the plaza of the Lin Garden Scenery, the air was thick with the stench of rotten eggs and the fury of the crowd. Victor Lin, surrounded by angry homeowners, roared with all his might. Refunds are impossible. The contracts are signed. The money is paid. The properties are yours now. Don't listen to him. Sam Shun, brandishing a megaphone from out of nowhere, drowned out the noise. They haven't handed over the properties yet, so by law, you can get a refund. You just have to pay a small penalty, which is nothing compared to the price of a house next to a garbage dump. Refund. If we don't get a refund, we'll kill this heartless boss. The scene spiraled out of control. Just as fists and feet were about to rain down on Victor and his son again, the piercing wail of police sirens cut through the air. The police fired a warning shot, barely managing to quell the riot. A battered and barely conscious Victor and Ethan were hauled into a police car. We're the victims. Why are you taking us? Victor was still screaming, unwilling to accept his fate. You organized a gathering of this size without filing with the proper authorities. That's illegal, a police officer said, looking at him with contempt. Victor was speechless. He finally realized that he had been perfectly checkmated from the very beginning. He couldn't understand how a prime school district property had turned into a garbage station. He dared not think about the cataclysmic disaster the Su Lin Group would face now that the project had collapsed. Bank loans, his debt to Blade, the company's massive internal liabilities. A multimillionaire was about to become a multi-million-dollar debtor overnight. All because of that damned garbage transfer station. The news spread through Kingston like wildfire. In a hospital room, a weak Victor and Ethan were greeted by the visiting Liu family. In that case, you should pay back the money you owe us. After confirming the news about the garbage station, Nathan Liu's mother immediately dropped her mask of warmth in a stunning display of face-changing. The hospital room descended into a chaotic mess of arguments, sobs, and accusations. The hypocrisy and opportunism of family ties were laid bare under the revealing light of money. Finally, with a subtle hint from Melinda and Victor's tacit approval, a pawn who could turn the tide was pushed forward. Willow Liu. I'll go find Liam, Willow said, looking at the bedridden Ethan with tears in her eyes. He has money. He can definitely solve the Lin family's crisis this time. A glint of cunning flashed in Victor's eyes. He seemed to have forgotten that Liam and Willow were not related by blood. That ungrateful son had to be made to spit out the money he had swallowed, with interest. At the same time, another drama was unfolding downstairs at Warm Yao Media. Owen was about to grab a shared bike to go home when he was blocked by a dolled-up Mia Zhao and a sneering Julian Liu. Owen, let's not break up, okay? You've always been the one I love most, Mia said, taking Owen's hand, her eyes filled with sincerity. Owen, Mia loves you so much. Why can't you be more magnanimous? Julian chimed in from the side, his eyes even turning red. Owen looked at the two terrible actors before him, feeling nothing but disgust. He coldly pushed Mia's hand away. We've already broken up. Seeing that her attempt was futile, Julian finally flew into a rage. He pointed at Owen and Liam, sneering contemptuously. You two poor posers who love to show off. You rented that car last time to fool us. And the Panga Hotel. I checked. The owner is very mysterious. How could it be this idiot next to you? Let's be real. You were just trying to flaunt in front of our Mia, weren't you? Liam raised an eyebrow and calmly took out his phone, typing out a message. Mia looked at Owen in shock, as if she had just found proof of his massive lie. Is what he said true? So you really are just ordinary people. Owen, I didn't even look down on you. I came to you to get back together, and this is how you treat me? That car you rented last time must have cost you a lot, right? Her tone was filled with contempt and the anger of being deceived, her materialistic nature laid bare for all to see. Before Owen could recover from the disgust Mia had induced, an even more unwelcome figure appeared as if summoned. Liam, Willow, with her advisor Haley in tow, pushed through the crowd, her face a mask of tearful distress. I finally found you. You have to save the Lin family. Liam felt as if he had left the house without checking his horoscope. Two of the worst women he knew, competing on the same stage. Were they forming a girl group? Before he could speak, Willow lunged at him. I know you have money, and I know you're still angry with me, she sobbed. As long as you're willing to save the family, I'll be your pet from now on. I'll never leave you. With a deft sidestep, Liam easily dodged her. Don't move. I just ate, he said, looking at Willow with utter revulsion. Your left brain is all water, your right brain is all flour, and when you think, all you make is paste. You're not worthy of being a pet. Why don't you go find a stray dog to mate with? His words made the onlookers gasp. Willow collapsed to the ground, devastated. Julian, seeing this, gallantly extended a hand to help her up, only to have it slapped away. Get away from me, you sissy. Willow spat. Liam donated $100 million to our school for a library and just cashed out over $1 billion. And you called him a poor poser. That slap not only hit Julian's face, but also shattered Mia's last remaining fantasy. She looked at Owen and asked desperately, Are you getting back together with me or not? Owen stood up, looking particularly tall and straight in the sunlight. You heard her. Now scram. And don't you dare lower your proud head. The farce finally came to an end. Just as Liam was about to leave, a figure suddenly rushed forward and blocked his path. Without a word, the person grabbed Willow's hair and began slapping her face left and right. It was Samshun. Liam watched this scene of enemies meeting with fury, smiled, and got into his Pagani. As soon as he sat down, the passenger door was pulled open, and Haley slid in. Liam, I've actually liked you for a long time, she said, feigning shyness. Anything Willow can do, I can do. And the things she can't do, I can do too. Oh, Liam's face was blank. Right now, I need you to get out. Haley froze but obediently opened the door. The next second, Liam kicked her out of the car. The engine roared, and he sped away, leaving Haley and a newly arrested Willow staring at each other in bewilderment. Back in the office at the Luo Group, Lorelei was processing documents, radiating an ice-cold, unapproachable aura. Liam didn't disturb her, just watched quietly until she stopped working. Had enough of looking? A lifetime won't be enough. Lorelei took the water he offered and took a small sip. Liam, do you know? Sometimes, I really want to lock you by my side forever. She suddenly stood up, and without warning, her hands shot out and closed around Liam's neck, her eyes filled with a crazed possessiveness. A sense of suffocation washed over him, but Liam didn't struggle. He simply reached up and gently stroked the back of her head. Lorelei's body trembled, and she snatched her hands back, her eyes filled with panic. I'm sorry, Liam, I don't know why. Liam knew she was aware of everything that had happened today. For his pathologically insecure lover, any disturbance could trigger a deadly storm of suspicion. Do you like pets? Lorelei asked out of the blue after they returned to the manor. Liam tensed. He knew this was a test. That depends on the pet, he answered carefully. If it's the obedient and cute kind, who could refuse? What about a pet like me, who isn't always obedient? Do you like me? Lorelei leaned in, her breath fragrant. Liam pressed a finger to her lips, his voice low and seductive. Hush, you beautiful woman. Be careful, or you'll get locked up. The next day, Lorelei tossed a USB drive to Liam, her eyes complex. Remember, don't expose yourself to danger. With the drive in hand, Liam returned to room 1801 of the Panga Hotel. This time, only Lilith was in the room, lying lazily on the bed in a see-through nightgown. Do you want the drive or not? If not, I'm leaving. Liam held it out, maintaining a safe distance. But right now, I want you more. What should I do? Lilith cooed, slowly rising from the bed. Her nightgown slipped, revealing large patches of pale skin. She feigned to stumble towards him, but Liam deftly sidestepped, letting her fall awkwardly onto the carpet. He tossed the drive onto her body and said coldly, If I'm not downstairs soon, my bodyguards will call the police and notify Lorelei. With that, he left without a backward glance. The moment the door closed, the seductive smile on Lilith's face turned to ice. She picked up her phone and sent a message, 10,000. Capture him. Make sure no one finds out. Liam walked out of the room and let out a long breath. He could feel the intense killing intent emanating from behind that door. Back at the manor, Franklin watched Liam bustling about for Lorelei and approached him with a gratified look. Young master is so good to the miss, he remarked. I haven't seen the miss eat so earnestly in a long time. Did Lorelei not eat well before? It's not that, Franklin smiled. The miss has an eating disorder, so she eats very little and is very picky. But, as long as it's you feeding her, even if it's a mouthful of poison, she would eat it without hesitation. Liam was silent. He realized that even living with her day and night, his understanding of Lorelei was just the tip of the iceberg. Besides anorexia, does Lorelei have any other issues? The issues are significant, Franklin sighed. Her sleep quality is extremely poor. Before, she was lucky to get 2 hours. Sedatives and tranquilizers had little effect. But since you've been with her, young master, she says she feels at ease lying next to you and can now sleep for more than 5 hours a day. Did you know, young master? You're more effective than Valium. Franklin continued. The Miss's biggest problem, in fact, is you. Her world revolves around you, and she will do things for you that are difficult for ordinary people to understand. As long as you can always be by her side, I believe she will slowly get better. Liam was utterly stunned. He had thought that loving her with all his might was enough, but he had never imagined that this seemingly omnipotent woman was, in reality, shattered on the inside. And the one who had caused all of it was him. That afternoon, after Lorelei left for a meeting, Liam went into the secret room alone. He wanted to see more closely how this woman had carved him into her very existence. Time ticked by. When he picked up a stack of documents from the table and saw the last photo, his entire heart felt as if it had been crushed by an invisible hand. It was a photo from their first meeting. In it, he was smiling shyly. The edges of the photo were blurred with faint water stains, the traces of dried tears. He turned the photo over. On the back was a line of delicate, trembling handwriting. One day, he will love you. His heart ached, an unbearable pain. Liam finally broke down, his heart breaking for Lorelei. He bolted out of the secret room, out of the office, and sprinted recklessly towards the floor where the meeting was being held. The moment the elevator doors opened, he saw Lorelei walking out of the conference room. He rushed forward and pulled her into a tight embrace, sobbing uncontrollably. Why? Why are you so foolish? Loving me? Is it really worth it? Lorelei was held so tightly, but a beautiful curve formed on her lips. Because you are my Liam. That's why you're worth it. There, at the entrance of the conference room, in front of all the stunned executives, Liam cupped Lorelei's face and kissed her deeply. When the kiss ended, he lifted her into his arms, princess style, and strode away under the watchful eyes of everyone present. In that moment, all misunderstandings, suspicions, and insecurities vanished into thin air. They had finally, without reservation, given their all to each other. The next day at noon, after delivering his love-filled lunch, something happened as Liam drove from the Luo group back to the manor. The moment he got into the car, a strong sense of danger enveloped him. Before he could react, 2 hands shot out from behind him, and a cold dagger was pressed firmly against his throat. Don't move. Drive, a hoarse voice commanded. Liam saw in the rearview mirror that 2 masked men had somehow hidden themselves in the cramped space of the back seat. He forced himself to remain calm, starting the car slowly while trying to negotiate with them. Brothers, however much you were paid, I can double it. 10. Shut up, you idiot, the kidnapper in the driver's seat snarled. His bodyguard, Bao, who was following behind, quickly noticed something was wrong. Liam wasn't answering his phone. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he stayed close while urgently contacting Lorelei. Held at knife point, Liam's car veered into more and more remote areas, eventually entering a labyrinthine network of alleys. The kidnappers were clearly familiar with the terrain. One of them took the wheel, leading a heart-pounding chase through the narrow lanes. After a few sharp drifts, Bao's security vehicles were completely shaken off. The other kidnapper began to search him, tossing Liam's phone out of the window and cutting off his last link to the outside world. My foldable phone. I didn't clear my browser history. Liam cried out in despair. The kidnapper laughed coldly. You're about to die, and you're still thinking about your phone. The car stopped in front of an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city. Liam was shoved by the two kidnappers into a dark, damp warehouse. The air was thick with the foul smell of rust and mold. As his eyes adjusted to the darkness, a familiar figure slowly emerged from the shadows. Handsome, I told you, you'd be mine sooner or later. Lilith's voice was filled with a sick excitement. It was her, as he'd expected. Liam's last shred of hope vanished. He was beginning to suspect that the word psychopath was literally encoded in the Luo family DNA. Why did you kidnap me? Didn't I give you what you wanted? Yes, you did. I saw it. And I was very satisfied. Lilith licked her lips, her eyes burning. But I also told you that I had to have you. Because you are the man Lorelei loves. Liam decided to just sit down on the floor. He knew Lorelei would come for him. The tracking device inside his body was his final trump card. Lilith walked towards him, pried his mouth open, and forced a small blue pill inside. Yin-yang powder, she chuckled. Don't blame me, little brother. It's your fault for not cooperating. A wave of heat surged from his lower abdomen. He knew he'd been drugged. In this desperate situation, he chose the most primitive and effective form of counterattack, a verbal assault. He launched into a blistering, no-holds-barred tirade, using Lilith's mother as the starting point and covering her entire family tree. Surprisingly, Lilith wasn't angry. In fact, she seemed to enjoy it. It was only when Liam, tired of cursing, switched tactics and started attacking her looks, her body, and her love life that he struck a nerve. The line, "A psycho like you will never be loved by anyone," finally ignited her rage. Shut up, she roared like a lioness, her eyes filled with a crazed hatred. I'm going to play with you until you're broken, and then I'm going to rip your mouth off, she shrieked, ordering her men. Strip him and take him to the storage room upstairs. Just as the two kidnappers were closing in on Liam with lecherous grins, the warehouse doors were blasted open with a deafening bang. Amidst the flying dust, a row of blinding headlights illuminated a heroic figure. Lorelei, dressed in black tactical gear and holding a submachine gun, looked like a goddess of war descending from the heavens. Lilith, are you looking to die? Her voice was colder than a Siberian wind. Lilith's face turned pale. She couldn't understand how Lorelei had found this place. The two kidnappers barely had time to react before two gunshots rang out, and they collapsed to the ground. What era is this? Still playing with fists. Lorelei holstered her gun, her eyes contemptuous. You dared to kidnap him, so what can I dare to do? Killing them was just self-defense. Cold sweat soaked Lilith's back. She grabbed Liam and held a dagger to his throat. Don't come any closer, or I'll kill him. Alive is best, Lorelei's voice was flat. If he dies, I'll kill you for revenge, and then I'll join him. Lilith was utterly defeated. She realized that threatening this lunatic with Liam was completely pointless. Fine, I'll let him go if you let me leave, she offered as her final condition, demanding a helicopter. To her surprise, Lorelei agreed readily. Soon, Franklin piloted a helicopter and landed it steadily outside the factory. Lilith dragged Liam to the helicopter, then shoved him away and jumped in, quickly ascending. Don't worry, Lorelei said, walking over to Liam and watching the retreating helicopter with cold eyes. The helicopter has been tampered with. She won't survive. As she spoke, Liam felt the full effects of the drug kick in, an uncontrollable heat sweeping through his body. He looked at the heroic figure of Lorelei before him, swept her up into his arms, and rushed into the depths of the warehouse. Meanwhile, the Lin family was undergoing a cataclysmic change. The Sulin group had completely collapsed. Homeowners held banners and protested outside the company day and night. The bank's collection calls were incessant, and shareholders came to demand accountability. Victor and his family could only hide in a dark, damp warehouse in the company building, barely surviving. Honey, what do we do now? Melinda asked anxiously. There's nothing we can do. Victor's hair had turned white overnight. We have to find a way to pay Backblade first. Under immense pressure, the family placed their last hope on Liam. Victor decided to swallow his pride as a father and personally take Willow to find the ungrateful son he had once cast aside, to beg him for help. An afternoon of long waiting had exhausted all of Victor Lin's patience. Just as he was about to explode, the office door opened, and Liam, with Lorelei on his arm, walked in, flanked by bodyguards. Owen immediately came out of his own office, ignoring the Lin family completely, and announced to the entire floor, all staff, cease your work immediately. This afternoon, everyone is on paid leave. Within a minute, the entire floor was empty, as if no one had ever been there. The massive media company was instantly transformed into a private judgment hall for the Lin family. Brother Liam, sister-in-law. Owen greeted them respectfully. Lorelei, expressionless, uttered a single word, reward. Franklin stepped forward and expertly handed over a check. Owen was ecstatic. Half a year of hard work couldn't compare to a single sister-in-law. In this world, who you know truly is more important than what you do. Liam walked into the lounge, his gaze sweeping over the anxious group on the sofa, a cruel smile playing on his lips. Well, you old bastard. Come looking for your real daddy, you little brat. Victor's anger instantly ignited. Seeing me, don't you feel the urge to kneel, apologize, and beg for my forgiveness? Restrain him. Liam's eyes turned glacial. Two towering bodyguards moved forward and, ignoring Victor's struggles and curses, pinned him to the ground like a chicken. Liam slowly unbuckled his leather belt and brought it down hard across Victor's back. The whistle of the belt tearing through the air mixed with the ugly thud of leather on flesh. Victor let out a pig-like squeal, but Liam showed no mercy. Scream. The more you scream, the more excited I get. Liam panted as he whipped him, a sick flush on his face. Where's your backbone? Let's see you not scream. After what seemed like an eternity, Victor's screams turned to pleas for mercy, and finally, with a whimper of utter humiliation, he cried out, Dad, I was wrong. Dad, spare me. Only then did Liam stop, satisfied. He looked down at him. That's better. Now, what do you want from your real daddy? The Sulin Group is in crisis. You have to use your money to save it, Victor stammered. The Sulin Group is in crisis? What does that have to do with me? Liam sneered. That was the company my mother left me. Now that it's ruined in your hands, shouldn't you pay for it with your life? Seeing this, Melinda mustered her courage and aimed her attack at Lorelei. Miss Luo, since you're keeping Liam, you should pay to solve the Lin family's crisis. After all, Liam's last name is still Lin. It's not much, just $1 billion will do. Liam, do you need them to disappear? Lorelei's voice was soft, but it carried a chilling, killing intent. Not yet, Liam shook his head. I'm not done playing. Just as Victor thought all hope was lost, Liam changed his tune. Lorelei, stay out of this. He looked at Victor and sighed. You old bastard, take your people and get out. Don't ever come looking for me again, and I might just let you live. Hope rekindled in Victor's eyes. He struggled to his feet and was about to leave with his family when his excellent son, Ethan, began his death wish performance. Ignoring his father's warning glance, Ethan looked shyly at Lorelei and struck what he thought was a charming pose. Lorelei, let my brother go. I'm the heir to the Lin family. I can take his place, and in the future, I can help you. He never finished his sentence. Lorelei's eyes had become as cold as a scalpel in a morgue. What did you call me? An immense fear seized Ethan's heart, but he still managed to force his lips to move. Lore. A cold light flashed like a viper's strike. Lorelei had appeared before him in an instant, her dagger plunging accurately into his mouth, and then, with a vicious twist. Ethan couldn't make a sound, only a gurgling of blood bubbles from deep in his throat. Warm blood gushed from the corners of his mouth and between his fingers, splattering all over Melinda, who was standing beside him. You crazy woman. Melinda shrieked and lunged at Lorelei, only to be kicked 3 meters away, where she lay twitching in agony. After all this, the murderous aura on Lorelei's face vanished. She turned to Liam, her eyes welling with tears of grievance. She held out her hand, which was stained with Ethan's blood. Husband. He bullied me. Look, I'm hurt. Owen watched from the side, completely dumbfounded. But Liam, with perfect naturalness, pulled her into his arms, tenderly blowing on her wound. He dared to bully you? He deserved it. Upon a stage of blood and violence, this couple performed a flawless act of turning black into white. Ethan, clutching his bleeding mouth, managed to gurgle out a sound. 1500 million. Holy crap, Liam said, feigning shock. Is there any justice in this world? My son and my grandson are trying to extort $1.5 billion from me? What kind of pet hospital is that expensive? He held the frightened Lorelei in his arms as if she were the most precious treasure in the world and strode out, leaving behind a scene of carnage and several completely broken souls. As he passed by Willow, he paused and gave her an eerie smile. You brought them here, didn't you? Has the swelling on your face gone down? The air in the hospital smelled of antiseptic and despair. Victor, Melinda, and Ethan Lin lay neatly in their respective beds, the final tableau of an absurd drama. Ethan's injuries were the most severe. The cold dagger Lorelei had wielded had not only shredded his tongue, but also his pride. He lay there, silent tears tracing paths down his face, only able to produce a garbled, animalistic whimper from his throat. Doctor, my son, will he be able to speak again? Melinda asked, her voice trembling with the pain from her fractured ribs. The doctor pushed up his glasses, his tone clinically, almost cruelly, flat. He'll be able to speak, yes, just not as clearly as before. Melinda felt as if she'd been struck by lightning. Meanwhile, Victor, the least physically injured, was suffering the deepest psychological torment. The stinging pain from the belt was nothing compared to the humiliation of having his dignity crushed under his own son's foot. He looked at his wailing wife and son, and for the first time, a terrifying sense of powerlessness washed over him. They didn't dare call the police. They knew that against a force like Lorelei, the law was a pale and useless weapon. Victor tried to comfort his wife. It's all right, Melinda. Even if Ethan can't speak well, it doesn't change the fact that he's the young master of the Lin family. As long as the Su Lin group exists, he'll be invincible. Invincible? Melinda shrieked hysterically, as if she'd heard the world's greatest joke. I can't believe how cowardly you are. Our son was savaged like that, and you're just going to take it? What else can we do? Victor roared in frustration. You want to get revenge on Lorelei? The fact that she didn't kill us on the spot was an act of mercy. For the first time in his life, he raised his hand to the woman he had pampered for decades. The sharp slap echoed in the room, shattering Melinda's last illusion. She clutched her face, sobbing uncontrollably. Distraught, Victor went out into the hospital corridor alone. The cold lights illuminated his bandaged face, making him look like a lost mummy. He slid down the wall, his mind a chaotic mess. Had he really been wrong all this time? Strict fathers raise successful sons. Wasn't that the truth? As he sank into an abyss of self-doubt, a cold voice slithered into his ear. Well, Mr. Lin, you're quite good at hiding. Victor shuddered and whipped his head around. Blade, flanked by several menacing thugs, was staring at him like a vulture. You think I don't know about the crisis at your Su Lin group? Blade patted Victor's face, a demeaning gesture coupled with a chilling tone. The money you owe me is due. Pay up, Master Blade. Just give me 3 more days, only 3. All right, Blade smiled. 3 days. If the money isn't in my account, you wouldn't want your beautiful wife to have to teach foreign languages at an entertainment club, would you? After Blade left, Victor collapsed to the floor, his hospital gown soaked in cold sweat. A debt of 130 million, tens of millions in bank loans, and a company on the verge of bankruptcy. An invisible net was dragging him into an abyss from which there was no escape. Elsewhere, in the manor, the scene was entirely different. Liam woke from a state of extreme pleasure and fatigue to find Lorelei watching him like a lazy cat. Franklin, prepare the soup, he called out, his voice hoarse with satisfaction. The image of Victor's pathetic, defeated state brought him immense joy. This was just the interest payment he was owed. Their true despair was only just beginning. But when night fell and he drifted off to sleep again, the familiar, lifeless primeval forest returned as scheduled. In a dark cave, the crimson eyes materialized once more. This time, he saw them clearly. They were human eyes. The eyes held a fatal allure, drawing him closer, step by step. Below them, a mouth split open silently, spilling not sound, but thick, warm blood. Hello, may I come in? He heard himself ask. The mouth slowly opened, but what came out was a piercing, eerie meow. Liam shot awake. Outside, the black cat was perched quietly on the balcony, its clear eyes gleaming in the darkness. Sleep was now impossible. He got up and went to the rooftop garden, where Lorelei was sitting, gazing at the stars. He walked over and gently wrapped his arms around her from behind. Lorelei, if anything is on your mind, you have to tell me. Lorelei was sitting, gazing at the stars. I'm in a very good mood right now, she said, leaning back into his embrace, her voice soft. Liam, if we can always be this happy, then I'll always be this happy. While they shared a tender moment, the conference room at the Su Lin group had already exploded. Victor, still injured, had summoned all the shareholders, trying to convince them to approve an early dividend payout to solve his immediate cash crisis. Victor, you still have the nerve to show your face? The company is going to be ruined in your hands. Taunts and accusations flew from all directions. A major shareholder named Quentin Chu stood up, mercilessly tearing away Victor's last shred of dignity. What have you accomplished all these years? The reason we made money had nothing to do with you. We invested in the abilities of chairwoman Serena Sue. After she left, look at you now. With your shifty eyes and weaselly face, you don't look anything like a leader. Victor trembled with rage, the words striking his deepest insecurity, but he had no retort. He gritted his teeth and glared at Quentin. Are you saying you want to be chairman?